Everything heavy when we step up. You can't hang with a gang, you a solo. Yeah, everything check, Constella.
Welcome, beautiful people. I am Chev. If you're new to this channel, welcome, GWAN. Make sure you are subscribed down below. In today's video, I have a interesting type of video to share with you guys, and I have my friends here with me, and we're about to talk about what it is like to migrate and move to Canada. So yeah, I'm gonna introduce you to my friends. They're gonna tell you their names and how long they have been in Canada.
So my name is Ariane Styles, and I've been here since August 2018. I came here as a student.
And I'm Alicia. I go by Tweety Ali or Ali, and I've been here since August 2014.
So you guys already know me. And I have been here since December 2014.
All right.
2018.
So I'm the freshest one on the boat.
She's the freshest one here.
Fresh to the boat. Fresh.
Okay. So in this video, we're just gonna tell you guys what it was like migrating here, what our experience is like, what is Canada like as Black women, Black Jamaican women, and all that good stuff, because we each had different experience. So this is gonna be a 2-part video. So this is just the first part, and then afterwards you can check out Ariane's video for the second part, where we go right full detail into what you need to know to move here. So let's get straight into the video. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to talk about, which is a lot of people obviously have different reasons, but what was your reasoning for wanting to move to Canada? So I'm going to start with the freshie.
Okay, to be very real and very candid, my boyfriend, my partner, moved here, and it came to the decision of if he would come back to Jamaica or if I would, possibly think about migrating. So I thought about it for 2 years, and then I said, you know what, if I were to have children and stuff like that, I'm really creating a better situation for them. So even if, God forbid, we didn't work out, it's not something that I would lose anything out of it, because I wasn't coming here illegal.
Period.
And I wasn't trying to,
But don't
run for it.
So run for it.
If needs be, I could go back, or I could just start my life fresh here. So really, that's what it was. And after researching, the school route was the best for me, because I'm adding to my education at the same time.
So that's you finished school before you came here? Like you were going to school in Jamaica.
So I was done with university. So I finished university in 2016. So I was 2 years post university. And then I came here and did a postgraduate certificate. Yeah.
So for you, the experience was like, even though you were moving here to be with somebody that you love, it wasn't like you were gonna just be so far away, so removed, but you made sure that you prepared
myself. So as I said, it took me 2 years to really decide, and it wasn't only a mental preparation, it was also financial. Because the reality of it is, moving to a new country, you have to be realistic. Like,
for your expectations,
you don't have the comfort of probably a mortgage-free home and all of that that you're probably used in your country. You're starting over. So one thing that I did was to ensure that I had my tuition and at least a year's worth of money. So that took me 2 years to prepare that as well. So yeah.
Okay, so what about you, Miss Ali?
Unlike Ariane that planned it out for 2 years, mine was a whim decision. So I started my master's at UA, but I didn't want to do it anymore because I felt like what they said I would be doing, I wasn't doing, and I never liked it.
Okay, and that is University of West Indies in Jamaica.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes.
Some of the people might know.
So I stopped, and then probably like a year after, my mom called one day. She's like, "So what are you gonna do now? Because you did say like you're gonna try to decide what you're gonna do." I was like, "Well, I don't know." And then I was like, "Okay, I'm just gonna go to Canada."
Wow.
Just like that?
Just like I never know. And I think at the time too, I was so over Jamaica that I was like, you know what? I need a change, and the US wasn't gonna work. So I was like, okay, I'll go to Canada. I've never been to Canada. I don't know Canada weather.
Oh my
Nothing.
gosh.
So I called my cousins, and I was like, okay, I'm thinking of coming here. What school should I look for? Did that in probably like a week. Then the next week, I'm applying for schools. Then I got in, and then by the following month, I'm sending in papers to CIC to come to Canada. And that was it. So I never had any plans. It was just really, what are you doing with your life? Okay, I need to make a decision now, and I made the decision.
You're a goal getter that way.
Yeah.
You said you've never been here before. You have been here
I
before you actually moved.
he has been here since 2015, I think. So I've been like back and forth when I got time off from work. Anything, I was here for 3 days. I was here for 1 weekend. Like
4 hours to come every 3 days.
And by the time I settled in, it was time to go.
Wow.
I've never really stayed longer than a week.
So
I came for my birthday, so I
Okay.
probably came 2 or 3 times for 1 year.
Okay. So it was still a relatively new society, even though you visited before.
Visited,
so it
but
wasn't,
living was a whole new
different
thing.
So my experience, mine is different in the sense that my mom got married to a Jamaican Canadian in Jamaica, and for us it was also the decision of like stay in Jamaica, building a home together, and we all be there, or like eventually move to Canada. I was 17 years old at the time when my mom got married, so it was like that was the decision. So they decided to stay in Jamaica for some time.
Yeah.
So we stayed, and I continued school because I was still in high school.
Yeah.
Went to pre-college, and then when I started UE, I was ready to go. So I'm like, if you guys are not gonna, if you guys are like gonna stay here, it's like I wanted something different.
Yeah.
I just felt like my life was just stuck. Because if you go to school in Jamaica, you see the same type of people through high school, through university, and I just felt like there was nothing else left
for you to explore.
So that was like probably when I was 19 at that point, and then my mom realized that if we do eventually decide to go, she would have to make a decision to say, would I go with them, because I was becoming of age.
Yeah,
so my time was running out.
Yeah.
So they made a decision that, okay, we're gonna leave Jamaica. I already started university, so I completed my first year and I was about to start my second year, and then my mom was like, I'm gonna put in the papers so that we could just leave. So I came to Canada when I was 20 years old. I finished only 1 year of university, and then I wanted to go to UFT, University of Toronto, or York. So coming here automatically, because I was still a minor at that point, because they put in the filing when I was 19.
Yeah.
So I would still be a minor. So I didn't have to do much of
anything.
anything. And I didn't know how the process went, honestly. I didn't have to put,
basically piggyback off.
When you, even no matter how old you are, when your parents do something, you just make your parents
do it. You don't even try.
You don't even try for understanding. All I know is I had to do certain things, like police report, all of that. But I just came here. When I came, I would be automatically a PR, so I didn't have to file for it or anything like that. So that was my experience coming here as a minor. Per se, or they call it dependent. Yeah, and I think dependent. Yes. Yeah, that was basically how I decided to come here, because I needed a new environment, and plus, honestly, I was lower middle class in Jamaica, not dirt poor. But whenever I have it like that, I could be better. I just envisioned something different from my life, and it was not happening in Jamaica.
I think I reached my peak in Jamaica, where I was just like, as you said, what else is there to do? I wanted to move further, but then you have so many stigmas attached to everything, and I didn't just need a fresh start. Because I have a mentor. I had a mentor back in Jamaica, and I remember he came out to Canada when we were talking. He was like, Alicia, you were literally, because I was working with a bank. He was like, you're literally near to like the peak of everything, and you just picked up yourself and left. And he was like, why would you do that? I was like, yo, I just needed the change. And then I think it's also part of life where you have to understand where your growth area is. And if you realize you're in a situation where it no longer serves you or you're no longer growing, it's okay to start over. It's scary. Very scary. But it's okay to start over. I think it was the best decision I made for myself. Because where I'm at now in life, I don't think I would achieve half of what I've achieved in. I just don't think. I don't think. I think I would be in a job where I'm just like, yo, I would be cruising through life and just feeling purposeless.
I think my case is a little bit different. Me departing from Jamaica was hard because I think where I could have been, I probably would be farther in Jamaica because that's just how things were for me there. And coming to the realization that I had to start over, even now I struggle with that because I think I'm kind of spoiled in a way.
3 years I've been
here. Yeah, and I also think it's very fresh for me because I came here 1 year of school stressing about school, then another year of stressing about getting the PR, and then if anyone has gone through that knows that those 2 years take everything from you mentally, physically, and financially. So like at the moment when you actually start working and start building, you are literally at ground zero and picking up. That's the way it is. So I think right now for me, I am not at ground zero, but
you have launched.
Say for example, I was born here and then now I have to move out of my family home. I think that's where I'm at right now, where you're at that phase where you're not comfortable and you're still figuring everything out. So I think for you are what? Is it 7 years in?
7
years
seventh year in.
So you found your groove. I'm still trying to find.
It takes a while. I think you know what someone said to me, like a past co-worker, after I finished school, because I did the 1 year of school, and I was talking to her, and she's like, "How is everything?" And I was like, "Awful." And she's like, "You know what? You have made so many changes in your life in the past year. Yeah. It's okay." And then she said, it takes at least 8 months to get over a change. And then I started calculating
how many changes.
I was like, you know what? She's right. And then I think by a hit year 3.5, that's when I started feeling comfortable.
You sometimes get overwhelmed with thinking, oh, where I should be, where I wanna be, and you're not focusing on where you are. And seeing the good and everything that you have accomplished. Yes, there's more to get, but you're so focused on what was gone. So I'm focusing on what I left in Jamaica, and then I'm focusing on what I want to get here and really not living.
And just let me say it, like right now to everybody watching, like seeing you guys and myself, to say maximum 6 years plus we've been here. You're doing freaking great for yourself. Not to say in comparison, but a lot of people have come here with little or nothing, and you're doing the shit. Okay, you're doing the shit.
Ladies and gentlemen, North America, if you don't, you have to have your head on your body, because North America is made for you to always want to, when them always say you want what the Joneses want, and
the dream,
the grass is greener on the other side. No, you have to live in
the now.
Know what you can afford, know what is for you, and sometimes you just have to sit back and be like, you know what, right now I can't do this, I cannot afford this, but I'll probably be able to do it some other time. Like you have to figure out what your priorities are, and once you have that, okay, my priority right now is getting my PR, settling myself, making sure that everything is good. Then, but if your priority is I'm gonna come here, I'm gonna party, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna live one life,
then you probably won't get your PR, or when it's time for you to get your PR, you're struggling financially to get your PR because it costs some coins.
And speaking of PR, which if you don't know in Canada, it's permanent residency, and we're gonna like I was speaking on PR right now, I want to talk about the process because
Mhm.
The
the
process.
process,
Trade with that one here.
the process. So each of us came here for different reasons,
Mhm.
and we can all agree that we started. When you come here, it's like life is now at the beginning stage. It's all over again, especially women way past teenage years.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So we're not kids. When we came here, even though I came here when I was 20, at that point 20 is not a child here.
Yeah.
It's not a you're not
You
a
have to
kid.
you have to be
You have
doing
to be
something.
doing something, and coming here, it's a start of a process. So we're gonna talk about the process. The very time you enter this place, the process of leading up to you finally getting to PR, permanent resident
which
status,
is where you want
where
to
you
get.
where you need to be. You know, even though PR you can't vote, still
Yeah,
keep
and
them
there's
country.
another level above that.
Yes, citizenship.
But at least the PR,
You
you're
get-
no longer an alien
Mhm.
Yes.
Right?
for the most part.
Okay, so
You can run it out still in a but
Yeah,
it's not
but
easy
you're-
for you out.
You're way easier to get a blind
Yes.
than any other
you're
way.
covered by a lot of laws.
Yes.
Yeah.
Still as a peer. Or I can speak like from my mom's perspective. She came here. She had an office job in Jamaica.
Mhm.
You know, she make decent money, all of that. But coming here, none of that matters.
Yeah.
That resume with all them Jamaican jobs and all of that,
Just
it
throw
was
it in the
basically
garbage.
nothing.
Yeah.
It was nothing. So we started below zero. Like my mother went from an office job and she worked in a supermarket when she got
Mhm.
here. I didn't have any job at all. I couldn't get nothing.
Yeah.
I didn't know the resources
Too.
available to me to find and
Yeah.
figure out, because you just come here. I wish I had people
Pull, yeah.
to tell me,
And
help
we have
me.
to get to networking, because
Get
that's
networking,
important.
all of that. We're gonna get to all of that later on, but it's like I didn't know what I needed. I
Yeah.
came here in the that would be the winter, the December of 2014, and I just did my first year in university in Jamaica. And it's like coming here, do I jump straight into university? Even though I came here automatically as a PR, I personally didn't have to file for it because I would have already gotten it before I even reached in the country. So I got a social insurance number as soon as I got here. I could get health insurance, all of that. However, it took some time to get government funding for school.
Mhm.
So that's another thing. When we came here, we sold our house in Jamaica, so we had some money.
Mhm.
But it's like we got to hold on to this.
To that
you know?
money, you have to pinch this little money.
So coming here, I didn't have a phone for a whole year for myself. My mom had to share a phone for the first year because we said we're not gonna spend that money.
You have
if we
to
don't
spend
to.
wisely.
So we shared a phone. I lived at home, no problem with that. So we shared phone, live at home. But I didn't have any job. I couldn't get they call it OSAP, student loan and grants right away. So my mother had to take some of that money to put towards school, but I didn't start school yet because I said like maybe I should wait to see how long it would take to get it. So I took at least 4 months break. So that was a break in my education that I had to take without having any job. And then it was summer school, like I had summer school, so I decided, you know what, I want to start with school. I don't want to be no further behind.
Yeah.
So I had to pay for summer school out of pocket.
Yeah.
And university not cheap.
It's
So my
not.
mother made a sacrifice so she could take some of that money and put it into school. And then eventually for the fall semester, that's how I end up getting OSAP. And that's a debt within itself, but we're going to talk about that later. But anyway, so that was my process. So it's like going through that and then going from somewhere where you have all this education, it just doesn't matter to these people here because you're from a third world country.
My process is, my first thing, I looked at what it costs to do a year of school. So that's the minimum that you'll have to do in order to even remotely qualify for, applying for your PR, which has other factors as well. So the first thing is looking how much it costs and then gathering those funds. The next thing is I went through a gentleman that helps people with, finding school. Because I was working and I didn't have the time to do all of that. So I outsourced. So I paid this guy to, I gave him the documents to apply for the schools, all of that, told him what programs I wanted to do. And I coordinated with my boyfriend here so that he could tell me what schools to apply for based on the location. So I applied for Humber College and what's that one? Sheridan College. Sheridan, even though it's probably $2,000 more, I'm like, hell no, that $2,000 can be put somewhere else. And I was like, okay, I'm aiming for Humber. Got through for Humber, put in all the documents, everything like that. You have to show proof of funds.
Yes.
Important. Make them know.
And
Important.
the proof of funds is not only the school fee. You need to show a whole year. If you're going to school for a year, you need to show a full year's tuition. International school fee is probably 3 times the domestic fee. It is. So my fee for the entire year was probably 18 or 19,000 Canadian dollars. That's not including that's why I chose Humber. It was not including some of the other fees. So with the fees and stuff, it was probably touching 21,000. Then you need to show, when they calculated how much it would be to live, it would probably be for the year probably around 12,000-13,000 there, but you would need to live
every year, so
that amount changes and all of that. So altogether, probably 30,000.
Oh, Canadian dollars, 30
Canadian.
Look at million Jamaican.
I've been working for 2 years, and my hard-earned money for 2 years, I'm taking up to go school here. And to be honest, the program that I did, it's okay, but it's nothing that I really wanted to do. So it was hard to justify that $20,000, to be honest with you. Anyways, show the proof of funds. I sold my car. I did everything.
You have to get the funds
to get all the funds. Then I came here, and basically the first thing I did, I walked with my resumes printed and everything, because girl, I mean business. I was not playing. And I remember this one girl saying something to me before, because I reached out to people that I knew before and was asking a lot of questions, like on Instagram and stuff. And she was like, you have to make up your mind to work in Tim Hortons. Tim Hortons is the coffee shop. Girl, I was like, do you know who I am?
But did she really say that?
I said, okay. And that was in the back of my head. I'm like, you're telling me that me gonna leave Jamaica, now work a coffee shop. Come here for working at a coffee shop. I did not accept that as my fate. And I said, okay, that's okay. And I printed my resume, everything on the flight came. At the airport, they gave me the printout of my social insurance number. So that was good. And they gave me a printout of my study permit, but I had to apply for my work permit. So I got my study permit, but your study permit, once you have that and you show them that you are going to apply for a work permit or something like that, you can still apply for jobs. The first thing I did once I landed here, I went to CIBC to open an account. And the lady that was helping me, I was like, ma'am, are they hiring? She was black. She's from the Caribbean. She's from Bahamas, I think. I was like, are they hiring? She was like, I'm going to be honest. They don't really hire a lot of you and I. And what that means is,
it's skin tone,
country,
everything,
region, everything.
And she's like, they don't hire a lot of, but I know Jamaican manager at another branch.
Oh wow!
And I can. Do you have your resume? I'm like, yep, I have. And she's like, okay, I'm gonna give you the card. I'm gonna tell you where the branch is, and you're gonna go there. I went to that branch. I asked for the manager, and they said she was in her office. I'm like, okay, then. They're like, is it something you need help with? I'm like, I need to speak with the manager. So I knocked on the door kindly, and I'm like, hi. I don't really want anything banking-wise, but I told her the name of the lady that, referred me, and I'm like, I just moved here. I used to work in a bank in Jamaica, blah, 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 and I'm looking for work. I do have my resume. I popped out my resume. I pitched myself to that manager in that office that day. And she's like, okay, I really like your vibe, blah, blah, blah. And I thought she was literally just bullshitting,
right?
But probably a week later, I got a call. I used to take the bus one day out of the week, one day. But I had a friend that used to drop me off to a bus station and then somebody else picked me up from the bus station. So literally I didn't really take the bus, but I had to go through the bus station. I was walking through the bus station, my phone rang, and they're like, hi, we're calling from CIBC. And they wanted to do a telephone interview right there and then.
The bus station.
No, they're like, is it a good time? Should we call you back? I'm like, no.
Stop right
No.
now.
And there was, if you know, construction is always on the roads in Canada. So a lot of drilling, a lot of noise. And I found a corner on the road, stood there, had the conversation. I'm like, I'm being real with you. I am on the road, but I want to do the interview now because I am prepared.
That's real.
I had my interview on the phone. 2 weeks later, or less than 2 weeks later, I got a call that I got the job.
Yeah.
That was my story. May not be everyone's story, but
But
the moral of the story is be prepared.
No, but that is very more common than you think, because as I said, like my mom for the first month, because she'd work at Loblaws, the supermarket, and she realized she couldn't do it. But I don't know exactly how she got in contact with this other lady working also at a financial institution. And because my mom she had banking experience and all of that, she working in finance. And sometimes being here, sometimes you just need to connect with your people for that higher level. Because it's how she got in to work where she worked. And then 2 months later from where she worked, she became assistant manager and then manager and then part of branch leader and all of that. So it's more common. I think you have to find the people
and
to help you get in the door.
Like this, your pride, and that's one thing I love about myself. I am not a prideful person, and that's something. Yes, I have other flaws, but that's one thing. If I want something, I'm gonna ask for it. And if it means that I'm not gonna beg, but if I have to lightweight beg, I'm going to do it.
You have to do
and that's something you have to be prepared to do here, because honestly, it's not easy. And someone would tell you you have to go to Tim Hortons as well, but you have to know what you're accepting.
Know what you want, and when you get put in a position like you got into a position where you know like this could be a door open for you. You have to make sure you put yourself in the position for walk through the door.
Even if it means faking it to
present yourself as somebody that worthy for be in a certain space and certain opportunities. It's just how it is.
So my process though. So it's okay. So I was banking on my co-op, but never worked out because my co-op wasn't one of the best co-ops. I don't even think my program was one of the best programs either. We were the guinea pigs. Yes.
Oh wow.
It was the first year they were doing the program. We were the guinea pigs. I remember one time in class, I had to get up and I was like, because it was myself and another girl her name was also Alicia, that were the only basically international students from Jamaica or anywhere in the Caribbean in the program. And I got up in class and I was like, listen, I paid how much? 1,000 for this course. Y'all pay $3,000 because me check and I'm not here for the bullshit.
Right.
So the co-op didn't work out. So afterwards I finished. I was unemployed for a good. So I finished school August. I was unemployed until November. During that time I was applying marketing job, banking job. You don't have enough experience, and I was feeling so frustrated because here's how being interviews. I was always one of the last three, right? So remember, some of them right this so you know. So the job they're right this so, and it was always you don't have enough Canadian experience, and I was like, who's this?
How are you gonna get
So I remember I was venting to my cousin one day and she's like, Alisa, you know what? It's no, because it was like Christmas time coming around. She's like, why don't you just look a job like in retail, get some experience there and then try back again. I was like, retail? That was my face, okay?
Yeah.
Retail? It's like, yes, miss, I'm not working on a retail. Never work on retail, no store, Jamaica, nothing. She's like, it just helps. I was like, as Ariane say, I have to put your pride to the side. I have to put it to the side. So one day, take my resume, I dumbed down my resume. Dumb it down. We just went on the mall, was just giving out resumes, and I remember I went into guest and the manager, I asked to speak to the manager, always ask to speak to the manager. Always ask to speak with the manager. Don't speak
somebody
So
will
anybody
just
in
take
a
your resume and
just
shove
throw
it
it down.
somewhere. They don't care.
So I asked to speak to the manager, he was Barbadian. They were talking, I was like, yeah, I just came here, whatever. Gave him resume, he called me for the job. Got the job, started. Within 2 months, they're like, okay, we want to give you assistant manager position. I was like, well, I'm going to take that. Because it's more money and it's also experience. Because Canadians are weird. It doesn't matter where you have your assistant
manager.
They just want to see that. They just want to see that.
It's a title.
They just want to see that.
And it doesn't matter where you have a customer service
Yes.
title, it holds no weight.
Yes. It's just a title. So I was like, okay, I'm going to take that. So I took that and I kid you not. By taking that and then starting to apply again, that's how I landed my first job in marketing. Because, you're going to sell yourself. Anything I don't know before the job, trust me, by the time if I start the job, I'm going to know it.
And I don't have any qualms about that. But
so it's literally, I sell myself, got my first job. My first office job, my own office in the corner, things. I am here now. I changed jobs again, so I'm in another job, and I'm also looking.
Is it still looking? Always better yourself.
But that's not sit on one
I'm
place.
not settling.
Period.
So that's how it is.
The world is my
and
oyster.
You see, it's like 3 different experiences here, and even when you talk about your mother's experiences, another experience. So everybody's not going to have the same experience. You're going to have your own challenges. I had my own. See, Ariane got her job. Boom. Me come, me unemployed. Me no unemployed. Me have to take up retail work. Like all of that. So you have to put your pride aside and just know, say, yo, I'm here for this. And
this is what I'm here
for.
Me just have to do.
Tunnel vision.
No matter what, I wasn't ashamed of anything. I just personally, for me, it was a very personal experience. I shared with who I felt
wanted to share.
I needed to share that with, because at the same time, and everybody will laugh in your face. Really, I'm gonna be like,
or when they say, "Oh, I feel bad that."
Yeah, so I shared my journey with people I know that were genuine and cared, and who were always like, Alicia, just continue already there already. Because I'm not, let me tell you, enough time. I was like, yo, I'm gonna go back on my yard. And then, but it was also the thought of, Alicia, you're gonna go back to Jamaica as a failure. House to the door.
You got to get it done.
I'm gonna pick up myself and do my thing, but you have to, when moving here, and it's not a bed of roses all the time.
And whoever is selling you that it's a bed of roses, get down to why they think that way.
Yeah, because some people, they have their families, and even I know somebody like you. They came here, they were staying with family and had to move out because family.
Woolly puppy have the
like
experience there.
I remember when I was coming up. And my past manager from the bank, she was already here, and she's like, "Who are you gonna see?" When I was like, "Family." She's like, "You sure?" I couldn't understand why this lady said, "You're sure." It's like how she said it, and you will learn.
I don't have a single family member that could tell me to move anywhere.
Trust me, I've heard stories.
Only my mom.
Only your mom,
she's the only
right?
person who
My
put
mother
up.
too. Yeah, like
There's
that's
nobody
different.
else.
That's different.
Yeah,
but you've heard people. I've heard seen where it's like, you're coming to Canada, and you say, "Oh, I have family here already," but it's like, what kind of family? How close is the family? What kind of relation is to the family? Because they could be family now, but within a year, they might ask you for one bag of money for rent when it makes sense to the room where you
might as well move out on your
own. They
own.
might ask you for different things. They want dip and control your life, the type of things that you decide to do. Like if you want to get a car, whatever. You got money for that.
Yes. You have to be
Okay,
careful
then you
with
have
that,
to start
yes.
put more money to this
Yes.
thing since you can't afford
Since you
car.
can't afford it, and since you're staying in my house, you need to do this.
It's
Be very mindful. They can seem so loving and welcoming at the beginning stage, but be mindful. You know, plan for stay there for a length of time.
And
Okay,
you just come
you need to
here
get the heck
prepared,
because
financially especially.
the family could
Prepared.
be vindictive. People change them stripes
People
and
have
colors
some
so quick.
horror. People get thrown out in the middle of the night.
The snow.
Yeah.
Some
The snow.
people come home and see them close out a door.
Or you just start get bad face.
That bad face.
How
It's a
quickly
lot of
are you
things.
progressing? If you're progressing too fast, it's a problem.
It's a problem. You have to literally dim your light in order to like buy
wait a
yourself
minute, you
more
just
time.
come here. Like what is
and
going
you
on?
will have you will. I remember when I had the thought of purchasing a vehicle. I took 3 years to purchase a vehicle. By the way, like I took the bus. So I like Ariana.
Yes, I was
Some
privileged.
sort of-
she
in
was
that
ability.
I didn't have to take the bus.
Which is good.
Mhm.
I took the bus for 3 years. It was a personal decision that I had to make because it was either buy a car, if you got make social media say, oh, she did Canada buy a car, or make sure I'm set to be able, when I have that car, I can afford the car to maintain. Because I'm telling you something,
and insurance.
and servicing, cheap.
It's not
And I remember when I started entertaining the thought of, I'm gonna buy a car, somebody was like, yo, go buy an auction car. It's like, an auction car.
As a woman with car
I'm
trouble.
like, what is that? I'm here basically by myself. I don't know nobody where. It's not like back home where when I purchased my car, I know I had people around me that anything happened, I could call them like, yo, this happened to the car and it would be sorted out. That wasn't the case here, and I was like, yo, I'm just not gonna. And it's like the rationale behind it for them was, well, your new year, so not take out nothing. And I understand they're trying to help like with the credit and stuff, but you also have to look at the person in terms of, why would you tell me a female to buy one auction?
With no family and nobody here.
Nobody enough to help.
So even for that, for vehicle wise, like I did that by myself. I just never tell anybody until they see me drive in the car.
So with all that being said, coming here, finding jobs and all of that, did you experience, because a lot of people would want to know like cultural shock or how you assimilated into the society? Like basically people want to know like what type of people live in Canada. Because people might think you kind of strange to see a lot of black people. So it's like, what is the experience for us? It's a passive aggressive. a lot.
So for me, I didn't have any major culture shock. It's just there became I was going to Humber, which the campus that I went to, there were a lot of Indians. Which they are friendly for the most part. Like the younger ones, so not the older ones, but the younger ones, they're friendly, but there became a point when I wanted to associate with Caribbean people or Jamaican people, because it's a lot to. I didn't want to lose my culture. I didn't like, honestly, anybody who knows me knows that when I'm hanging out, mega chat the raw patois, and like not even the nice version of it, but just I wanted to be myself.
Yeah,
and
that's very important.
The reality of it is, if someone is from a different culture, you can't necessarily just be yourself, because one, they won't understand, and you have to communicate like how people can understand.
What we might find as a joke for them,
it's very serious.
So it's like coding, we call language coding. You did a lot of that. So like what you said with all of that, like when you first came here, did you have much black friends or friends?
Okay, so the first two girls that I met, one was from Mexico and then the other one was from Trinidad. They were both white, but they were from Mexico. They were from the Caribbean. So it wasn't hard to, especially the one from Trinidad, because herself Emma. it was nice to hang out with Emma because her patois is worse than mine. And when you hear it out of a white person's mouth, it's different. But she was fun to hang out with and all of that. But after a while, she obviously moved on to being around other people that she was comfortable with. I also found my groove and all of that. But the Indians, for the most part, there was only probably 2 that I was cool with, but it was hard for them to understand how I roll. Yeah, because I have a lot of attitude and stuff.
I feel like that was pretty much like the same for me, because when I first came here, I didn't start school right away, and when I eventually like got a job, like it would be like I worked in a beauty supply store for like 2 months in between before I started school again, and then I went into like retail while I was going to school, so part-time. And so it's like, okay, you have work. There were my friends.
Work acquaintances.
Work acquaintances. And I worked in Hollister when I was going to school, so it was very
Caucasian.
White. It was very
Caucasian.
There was a lot of Caucasian.
It was on the lighter side.
Passive aggressiveness, like you said. So I wish not to be friends like that. There were some Filipino people as well, which they were cool. You know what I'm saying? But for the most part, I'm not trying to be friends with them until I started school. And I went to York University. So York is like one of them. Say York would be like the HBCU of Canada. So there was a lot of black people, a lot of white people, a lot of everybody. It was very a melting type of place. You meet different type of people, but in my faculty, political science, it was predominantly white. And then if it's not white, you have brown people, right? So like I had a couple brown friends, but it wasn't friend, but you know, like they know I'm Jamaican and stuff, but it wasn't like, you know, people I would hang out with.
I'm sure they don't consider you as a friend either, because like,
it's a reality. It's school friend. So you know you have somebody when you go to school. You have
somebody when you chill beside you, walk around the school with
get to know campus. And that was summer school, so there wasn't a lot of people around anyway to know. So I was looking for people like me, and I couldn't find any because nobody in our church got summer school like that.
Because they want to turn up for the hot girl summer.
Until it was like the fall when I just put myself out there to be like, you know, if you want to meet people, you have to put your. It's hard, especially if you're not the friendliest. I want to say I'm not friendly. It's just like hard to like push yourself into a group. You know what I'm saying? So it was fall, and I said, okay, girl, you're gonna sign up for clubs. I did my research through the summer to like, they have a Caribbean Students Association, and I have a Jamaican student club, and all that. So I'm gonna sign up. But I met the Caribbean students first. And that's how I met Simba. I saw, like, my boyfriend, I saw him, he was the vice president of the club. I'm a see, you know, like, you know, I'm going to walk up to the booth. I'm like,
okay. He saw you pray.
I would like to be a part of this club. And that is how I met Caribbean people in terms of my Jamaican people and stuff like that. So I you know, got with people like that. But I wouldn't say I experienced much culture shock, and it wasn't hard for me to like find my way socially in Canada, because a lot of people have a misconception. Well, we can't say Canada, because Toronto, I don't know about everywhere else. I'm sure that Alberta would have been the same experience. Vancouver,
Manitoba, wherever.
Princess Edward Island, all these places. Saskatchewan, like all these places. I'm sure different people go to different parts. Okay, because I hear a lot of Jamaican people move to Alberta. I don't know what the experience is like there. I hear it's cold. I think it's predominantly white as well. But for Toronto, in essence,
it's a mixture. You can find your space.
You can find a space.
Where to look to find people in Toronto.
For real.
I think that's how I navigated Toronto.
Yeah. Because
Ariane always said a lot of people.
Yeah, she knows everybody.
You're that social butterfly.
Yeah, even though she may act like she's not friendly and all of that. I think Alicia is but that's the level of friendly I'm not at.
I just
Like, even though
know
I know a
enough
lot of people,
I
I
know enough people.
I keep
When you find a
a
group, you find a
certain
group.
group, I just stick with that.
Okay, tell us
group.
about it.
No, so for me, like when I came here, so as I said, the first person I met was another person by Alicia from Jamaica in my program. So okay, that was my first friend here. Rough it out through 1 year of madness. Then after that, there were a few people that I had mutual friends with from Jamaica that were coming up, and then everybody would always link me and be like, "Hey, this person coming up. Do you want? Can you tell them something? Can you talk to them? Whatever it was." And I was like, "All right, fine." So because of that, I ended up like those. Probably every year, somebody else new was like coming on, and then
That's how I met you.
and I'm the person like if you call and ask me, or if you refer me to talk to somebody, I'm gonna talk to them because I know say coming here, especially if you're by yourself, it's not easy. And you're gonna need a social you need friends to navigate Canada.
Yeah,
like cause especially in the winter.
Even sometimes I wish you didn't live this far. Like all of my friends live in opposite direction. Which makes it hard, but
so you need that friend. So that's how I get to know a lot of people. And then people say I'm easy to talk to you. I think one of the words, I don't know, but you know. That's how I meet like different people. And then also I do like a lot of like networking too. And like I'll find events. Probably just because even like how I got one of my recent like freelance jobs, I joined an event, someone was talking, I reached out to the person afterwards, and then that was it. So it's like I just use that mindset like, yo, I'm new in this space. If I want to expand or just have different reach, because I feel like you're supposed to know somebody in every single circle if you want. Because what you can do for me, somebody else can do for me. And it's not a matter of I'm looking people to do things for me, but you never know when
you
the
have
situation.
to be
So if you can call me and ask me, yo, somebody will do XYZ, and I can think about, oh, maybe me know if I call Chev, because Chev will probably know who of it. So that's how.
And that's what networking is about.
Yeah, so
who's connected to who.
Yeah. I know what it's like to come here without people. So for me, if I can just talk to you for 5 minutes and help you and tell you what you need to do, that's fine. Like, you keep the number, you keep the number.
Don't.
Keep the number.
Fine. And I guess that's how I end up have like a wider network of people just because of that.
Yeah.
What I was just thinking about, like at the top of my head, like the process, like just want to know if it was hard applying for school for you guys. Like it wasn't hard, right? I feel like a lot of people, like I get DMs. I think that's the most DMs
bigger requirements in Jamaica.
Yeah, like yes, true. I get a lot of DMs like, oh, how is it applying to school? And it's always to me like it's like that's probably one of the
chances
easiest
are you'll
things.
get accepted.
And
I don't know
you
what
don't need
criteria they
anything
use.
special. If you're in Jamaica or in the Caribbean, like Cape, CXC, all of them ask you the same thing. Like when I'm asking you, and sometimes it probably like your grades not even have to be like the top. To get in a school here, it's really really
also
simple.
most North American schools have a mature program.
Yeah.
So even if you didn't go to college but you're a little bit older, they're not gonna ask you to go get something. They have a mature program so not old, but obviously you're past that stage to use gauge. Yeah.
So that was just like something that came up at the top of my head, or we just want to throw it there. It's very easy. Just find a school that you want to go to. Send in the application. You pay probably $50. The last time
I think it was $50. I don't think it changed. Yeah.
I don't know if the price is gone. Like,
if you want to do it, just do it. But ask questions. Like reach out to people. I don't bite. I answer every DM as long as I see it. And if I can help, I help, because there are people that helped me. Because Alicia helped me throughout my entire PR process and all of that. So if I can help somebody else, then
And right before we close out this section of this video, because we're gonna go into some real nitty-gritty stuff, but like I just wanted to touch real quick, because I don't think we're going to do that part on the next part of the video, like about being mentally prepared coming here,
Yeah.
because if you're coming from somewhere tropical, we talked about it a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
About that you will probably experience depression till you come to this country.
Yeah.
And honestly, I feel like mental health issue is one of the main
Biggest
concerns here. I've never seen so many mentally unstable people until I feel like that's a culture shock
Yeah,
for me.
I was never
I
in
was-
tune with my mental in Jamaica like
Yeah,
that. 'Cause
like,
first of
yeah.
all, it's sunny. That alone
Yeah.
will bring your mind to a happy place.
No matter how you don't have money like that,
Yeah.
if you don't have money like that, but the different type of depression they experience here is
And everyone experience, not just immigrants experience
Yeah.
it, citizens like born.
Yes.
Because I remember when I used to go on the train every morning to school.
every day you see
Every time you hear the train stop in the middle of the tunnel, somebody jumped.
Yeah, like you have people like that was a culture shock for me to see so much mentally unstable people in one place every single day. You're up on the bus, you'll be on the bus, and like somebody just come on the script, their
Their
excitement, create a scene. I mean, I tell you every single day, and it's not the same people on the same road. It's different type of people. Like
And half of the people living here, they are not 100% happy.
yes.
And it's not to say, like, it's not to deter you from Canada or
But
coming
it's just
here.
the
But
real.
it's just the reality of what
It's
it is.
just the
It's
real.
not a bed of roses.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of our misconception is that, you know, you're going to the better side of the world. I would say if you are living comfortable, if you're earning a certain amount, you have your home or whatever, there's little to no reason for you to leave Jamaica, to be honest with you. Unless it's a personal goal of yours, or you just want to build a different life for your family or something, then do that. But if it's just you thinking, here, go get a visa and travel. Like, literally, that's what it is.
Yeah, but
Even now, like with work, being able to work from home would be a good, and I guess the whole labor's market is gonna move to that.
Yeah.
Like probably you could come here and like if you get your visa, you can stay for 6 months and do like an exploratory visit to know
that's good.
if you wanna. And then a lot of people do that where they
Test
do the
it out.
visit,
and they realize it's not for them because it's not
True.
for
And
everybody.
some people will apply for the PR, get it, come here, it doesn't work, and then let's go back, but they just know that they have it. So in the event
that life happens,
Yes.
which it will.
so if you
You
want
have an
that option, then that's it too.
Yeah.
Okay, y'all, so that is it for the first portion of this video where we just stayed on the surface of the process of moving here and all of that. But check out part 2 on Ariane Styles' YouTube channel. The link is gonna be in the description box, and I'll put it in the comments as well, where we will be talking in depth. We're gonna get real into it about
That's
that.
our personal life.
And like we're really gonna get into
that.
the real stuff. So that is all that I have for you guys today. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter at Chev. And I'm gonna put all the socials for us and all of that, and check out the next video. So I'll see you guys in my next video. Go on, big up on yourself. Bye guys.
Everything heavy when we step up. You can't hang with a gang, you a solo. Yeah, everything check, come Stella. Let me